Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Take Two Podcast. This is episode 230, and I promise you I will never go to the dentist again because I don't want them to track me using my molars.
Ooh,
Tony, what's
yeah,
up, brother?
that's a good call. That's a good call. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. 2:30 used to be a time that I look forward to a lot in my day. How sadly that has changed. But yeah, that's impressive that we made it to episode 230. That's a lot. Wow.
Thank you, listeners, for sticking with us for all 230 episodes. You know what I just thought of? Is there a listener out there who has been here since one? They've listened?
I'm going to say I doubt it.
Not a
Besides, like,
former employee.
work on it, and like
Right.
close friends, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. If you are a listener who's been with us since episode one, or even maybe you jumped in later and like caught up, let us know. Reach out and let us know. I hope to hear somebody say, yes, I've been here for all 230.
At Take Two Podcast for Twitter, Take Two Podcast at gmail.com is the email. Then 434-602-1931. Let us know, when did you start? When did you find us? How long you've been here? And if you've been here since 2:30. We might send a prize if someone's been here since 2:30. Caveat is you cannot have been a former employee.
There you go.
We have Boss Level, Coming to America, WandaVision with spoilers, Notorious B.I.G. documentary, the Mormons, what was that called? Murder on the Mormons?
Mormons.
And Raya and the Last Dragon, all coming your way today.
A half a Raya review. We'll leave it at that for later.
We have some trailers, we have some casting, we have some DC and Marvel news to chit chat about, and a lot of fun as well. I'm looking forward to this. Patreon members, you're getting some unique stuff, and I've got good news. There is light at said end of tunnel. Tony is en route back. We're not going to guarantee you a spot, but what I will tell you is that we have like a lot of Friday. We're usually bi-weekly. You might get a stretch of like weekly, if not more so, coming up because we do have some good things planned. It looks like our schedules are lining back up. Kevin, Vaughn, Katz, Lisa, Ryan, Roy, and Craig. If that sounded short, we actually lost a Patreon member this week, but that's okay because the rest of you guys are going to make up for it. Only $1 a month, patreon.com, Take Two Podcast. Sign up today, guys.
And I hope that's not my fault because we kind of dipped a little bit in January and February with our output, and like we said, due to scheduling and stuff. But now we're back, baby. We're going to be back in the next 2 weeks. I guarantee you're going to hear me back on the Patreon, and we're going to give you even more than you had before. So we're going to make up for it.
We just dropped a spotlight that is on your regular Take Two podcast feed. You can check that out. It is on Sir Anthony Hopkins. This one, I have to be honest. Tony and I have done this many times. We're like, wow, this dude has so much in the beginning, like a lot of British TV we obviously didn't see. This is the most kind of like glazing over that early stuff that I think we've ever done because he's got like 700 credits of British TV that we couldn't watch even if we wanted to and had the time. But we do break down his entire life and career as best we can. We hope you guys enjoy it. Check that out today.
Yeah, it's hard to do all the homework on some of that earlier stuff, but if there is something, we always say, if there's something we glaringly missed, reach out, let us know, and let us know we need to watch it. I saw somebody put up the picture of Magic, the one that I talked about that I want to watch, where he's got the ventriloquist dummy. So I included it on the picture. I hope that they saw that. But that one is on my HBO Max to watch list, so I'm going to watch it soon.
Thank you guys for following the Take Two Podcast. Thank you guys for listening. If you want more, again, go to that patreon.com. Hit us up on all the socials. We'd love to hear from you. The one thing is on Facebook, we have that group page, normal page, Facebook, the normal Take Two Podcast page, but then that group page, Take Two Universe, a lot more fan interaction, a lot more chit-chat going on in there. So join both of them. Make sure you do that so you get all of the content that we are posting daily. I'm looking forward to today's episode, buddy.
Yeah, well, and I'm looking forward to your Take Two Universe contributions there and the Instagram stories. If you guys follow us, check out both of those things. Brian's been dropping his little 40 days of sports on there. I'm looking forward to, today's one is one of my favorites of all time. I was ready to just hit a bunch of different GIFs from that movie because I love it so much. I don't want your life.
It's funny. I posted it, but usually you kind of get like that post receipt that was like, it has now been sent or poster. And I didn't get it. I was like, oh crap, did I hit the wrong button? But then it said, Tony Dobish has commented on you. I was like, oh, okay. He sent the gift like before I could even get it up.
Yep.
And last week's made me laugh because, at the end I kind of put like, does this film work for you or whatever? And for Moneyball, I put, I try and make it cheesy or whatever. Like, do the analytics, work for you or whatever? And then we got a whole conversation with people talking about how baseball has changed, and I was like, all right, cool. We can have that convo, not what I was going for, but hey, whatever stirs the conversation, I'm down with.
Sports needs to happen.
That's right. What needs to happen is we need to get started with episode 230. We're going to start off with those weekly poll results.
Weekly poll results. This one was actually pretty busy on Twitter. It's so funny how some weeks One will get really busy on Instagram, like when we did the Black History Month. The first one we posted, everything was huge on Instagram, and then this one was huge on Twitter. So a lot of votes in this one, and this was just, what are you looking forward to in March? There's a lot of big releases. We kind of talked about in the last episode that we were excited. So Raya and The Last Dragon just dropped last week, coming to America as well. So those were both on the category, and then I threw in there the Snyder cuts, to appease because I know he's excited for it. And then also Godzilla vs. Kong. So all those movies are coming our way in March. I gotta say, I was surprised at how much this took off. And the winner by a landslide was not who I thought would be. Godzilla vs. Kong with 68% of the vote. I did not expect that at all. I thought just having hashtag Zack Snyder whatever in there would bring all those people out and crush it, but it didn't happen. So Thank you for not crushing the poll. That did come in second, though, 16% of the vote, and then Raya and Coming to America split the rest of the vote. We got a couple other shout-outs. Shy and Michelle Miller on Instagram both said Coming to America, probably because they were watching it this weekend. Looking forward to that. Chris from the Market Fly podcast and Craig, they both said Snyder Cut, supporting you, of course, Craig said. And then former employee, as you mentioned, Bo, he reached out on Instagram. All of them, please. So I agree, Bo. I will probably be watching all of them, please, as well, as I've already watched 2 of the 4. So, but yeah, good poll. Thanks as always for reaching out, and good little. I always enjoy the little discussions more than anything, the little commentary and stuff like that. So reach out and comment. Don't just vote, and make sure you're sharing and letting your friends get involved in the conversation as well.
I was thinking about Bo. We'll talk about it in Coming to America with Prince. He is the biggest Prince fan that I know. So I hit him up. I was like, hey, man, thinking about you. Haven't heard from you in a minute. And he was like, hey, this weekend, guess where I'm going? Wife and I are flying out to Minnesota to Prince's house.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the whole Prince Palace thing that they do.
It's funny. I actually talked with another friend, coworker of ours, who was like, oh, yeah, how's the podcast going? He's like, I don't listen, but I follow you guys on Facebook. And they're like, you guys have that other host, right? Whatever. I was like, no, he hasn't been on the show in a long time. I mean, sorry, but so I guess people who've been with us long enough still think he's here, so that's good.
That's fine. He was that impactful. All right, folks, here's the deal. We're going to start things off with WandaVision, and yes, we will be talking spoilery. Here's what, Tony, maybe we usually do this. Give like 2-3 minutes of overall takes, and then we'll let you know when we're going to get into the spoilers. Check those show notes at the bottom of your page, and then we'll put the timestamp. Next up is Coming to America, so then fast forward along, or do something crazy, go freaking watch it, so that way you can enjoy our conversation. Speaking of watching, forgot to mention, we're on the YouTube. So those of you guys viewing us right now on YouTube, thank you very much. Subscribe. I saw we got like 3 new subscribers this week.
Nice, we're taking off. Nice.
Yeah, man. And they're all female too, so what's up?
Welcome. Some commentary to that extent later that hopefully they like.
All right, here we go. WandaVision.
Yeah, WandaVision. And we already kind of gave our first take a few weeks ago when episode 1 and 2 dropped, the first 2 episodes. So if you want to go back, we're not going to really dwell on episode 1 and 2 necessarily, but I think at that point we were like, okay, this was interesting. We like what they're doing, but we don't really know where we're going kind of thing. But it was cool, and it was well done, and I think we both lauded the performances of Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany up to that point and what they were doing in different eras and genres of TV. And I think we both said it was good to see Paul Bettany actually being able to act in the Marvel Universe, not just be Vision and be that robotic, almost unemotional character. So that was nice to see a change there. And as it went on from episode 2, we started to get some answers. So episodes 3 through 9, it really started to take off. We got some answers. We got some new characters in here that were from other properties of MCU, kind of bringing in people from other stuff. That was cool. We'll talk about it a little bit more in spoilers, I guess. And then, of course, Kathryn Hahn. We hadn't really talked about her much in those first 2 episodes, but she really turned it on later in the season as well and gave a good performance. So overall, good show. Good show. I liked it a lot. We earlier lauded the idea of the weekly drop and how much we liked it. Now, in retrospect, though, I'm going to change that because I feel like the reception to the final episode is tainted because this was a weekly drop. Do you understand what I'm saying? I feel like it would have been better as a bingeable show because people wouldn't have been able to come up with all these crazy theories during the week and think about what's going on with the next episode. I mean, it was great because we were wanting to see the next episode, but then I feel like a lot of people were let down in the end because they had huge theories and conspiracy things going on and who's going to show up and Fantastic Four and all this stuff, whatever. And then if it didn't happen, they were let down. And I think that's why I've seen a pretty kind of down response to the final episode, and I think it's because of that. So maybe if it was a bingeable show, we wouldn't have the time to work up all that, and then
Sure.
just enjoyed the run. But overall, very huge show. Made me care about Wanda. Made me care about Vision, maybe more than I did before. I love it. If this is what we're gonna get going forward on the Marvel Disney Plus stuff, I'm here for it. I can't wait, and I think it's a good idea to do this. And it was a big swing. It was a swing for the fences in creativity, doing this with the TV stuff and the way that they did, and the different eras, and you have these actors almost playing different parts every week. It was fun, and I think it worked overall pretty much, as a really good show.
Yeah, I'm very positive on it. I'm very high on it. You're 100% right. The reason folks are down on how it finale was because we built up all these theories, and when the majority of those theories didn't pan out, then people were disappointed. And I feel if people had looked at it the other way and just enjoyed the story they told us, they might have been a little bit higher. And that's hard to do. You're going into it like, oh man, I hope this shows up, I hope this happens, and then they don't. Well, now you're disappointed. But if you look at it the other way, where it's like, all right, I just enjoyed the story that they told me. I was really high on it. I really enjoyed it. They touched on human emotion from a witch and a robot, telling
Yeah.
us, human elements. And it's like, wow, the things that they did, they gave us, those tear-jerking quotable lines that, you were referencing last week and what have you, that a lot of people love. I think it really set the bar high.
Sure.
I feel bad for Falcon and Winter Soldier to follow it up,
Yeah.
because
Well,
I
that's not
don't
going
know.
to be driven either. I don't think. It'll be more about the action and stuff. But yeah.
Exactly. And the fences they swung for were very, how many people, and I know you probably saw a few, they were like, after episode 2, they're like, I'm out. I'm out. What's happening? I'm out.
Yeah.
So they're not going to do that going forward. The rest of them will just be Marvel style the rest of the way out. And I'm applauding the WandaVision folks for doing what they did. They're like, A, we said it. We said it the moment they announced this. They were like, WandaVision, that's a dumb name. It
Or
was kind of like,
those characters. Even most people didn't really care enough about the characters.
yeah, yeah.
And for that
And now I super cared about them.
yeah, and it was almost like a Mandalorian week, thing where people were really into it, waiting week to week, talking about it all week, anticipating the next episode. People were, waking up at 3 a.m. to watch the show,
Yeah,
whatever. So it became bigger than I think any of us thought it was going to be.
sure,
And
sure.
yeah, it sucks that it kind of ended on that sour note for a lot of people who had the anticipation of. And I saw the creator even, or the director, Matt Shackman, who directed all the episodes, kind of came out the week before and was like, I think people are going to be let down with the
Right.
finale just because there was so much talk online for those last couple weeks. And it's a shame. And I will say I was impressed by the way they went with it. And the head writer, Jack Schaefer, who I didn't know was a woman. I looked it up and I was like, oh, like Jack is for Jacqueline.
Oh,
So I didn't
cool.
so that was cool that she, was the head writer for all the episodes. She worked previously on Captain Marvel and Black Widow, so we kind of got the Captain Marvel stuff tied in here a little bit as well. But I thought it was interesting to make a whole conceit of a show on just grief. Like grief is your main
Yeah,
villain most of the show, which is, I guess, not pleasing for some people where they were like, we wanted more. But I did enjoy
sure.
it overall. I wouldn't, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't a little let down by the finale. But
Yeah.
overall, the show was really good, a high achievement for Marvel and Disney.
Before we jump into spoilers and the reasons we may have been let down, if any, I just want to circle back to your Catherine Hahn, because I felt like every episode I was like, oh, Catherine Hahn's so good. Oh, like she's good. Oh, like episode 4, it's like, oh, she's just having fun. Like she's got to be having a blast. And every single episode, she just gave you any scene she was in, she kind of stole it. And every scene she was in, she got to do something different. You could tell that she had fun. But then it was like more and more. It's like, F me.
Yeah.
Now finally people are learning about Catherine Hahn. You and I have known about her forever, but now like people are like, wow, she's a good actress. And then her like arc of how they allowed her to grow and grow and grow, and by the end, obviously things are so huge for her. I don't know. I was like, I've never met the lady, but I was like, I feel great for Catherine Hahn right now. Now everyone knows that she's a great actress.
Like I said, Cleveland native, and she's got a number one selling single. That's awesome too. So, yeah. So I mean, that's another thing. I thought it was super smart. I mean, this isn't really spoilery, but for them to include Robert and Kristen Anderson Lopez as the songwriters who worked on Frozen and Coco, you
You
know,
got winners, right?
yeah, so to bring them in and to make those catchy tunes, not just the theme song for the show overall, but then the Agatha All Along, which became huge, they co-wrote, and then
Yeah,
each week they had to do like an intro for the different sitcoms and make songs kind of for that too. So they
yeah.
they really were a huge addition to the show and made a big part of it what worked. But yeah, I'll get into Catherine Hahn a little bit more. Just I want to wait my thoughts because some of them are spoilery. So
Well, let's just do that right now instead of dragging out. We're going spoilers right now, folks. Check your timestamps. Again, Coming to America is our next up, so just fast forward along a wee bits until you get to Coming to America, because from here on out, we're doing spoilers for WandaVision.
So, Catherine Hahn, sticking with that conversation, the way that we left it at the end of the season, I like that, and I hope that she becomes like a Loki-esque character.
Loki, yeah.
Like we're gonna bring her back, and she's kind of a bad guy, but kind of also an ally. Like I like that it was exposed that she wasn't really like the one in charge of everything. It was really Wanda who just set all this up, dealing with her own grief, and Agatha kind of preyed on that and tried to steal her power. But it's like she's a bad guy, but could also be an ally, because near the end she's kind of like almost sympathetic to what was going on for Wanda. So I'd love to see them continue to use her and keep her almost as, like I said, a Loki type character going forward. And I think we will. I think we'll see her come back out, and I can't wait for that. See what they do with her. The things that people were let down on, whatever. We didn't see this Fantastic Four, whatever you thought it was going to be.
Mephisto.
That it was Wanda all along. So I get those, things and the expectations being too high. I was left with probably the biggest down for me was the fake Pietro, where it was like, okay, he's just, what was it, John Boner or whatever? It's like, really? That's it? Like, I really did think they were going to do something cool with that angle. And I almost wonder if they are thinking now, like, oh, damn, like, yeah. After all the little theories and stuff came out, it's like, man, we could have made that cooler, and we didn't, So that was kind of down for me.
I like that they effed with us by putting in Peters as the actor. Like, they deliberately effed with everybody in the theories by using him.
They even said that the character of Dottie was kind of put in there as like a bait and switch. Like, she knew that she was like a bait and switch, like, oh, we're not going to expose who she is until kind of the end. And I know some people were let down that she wasn't a bigger thing, but it's like not everything has to be a huge thing.
Sure.
So you got to get over that, I will say they left me with one cliffhanger, who is Cliff, that Jimmy Woo calls.
Oh, right.
The final episode. And then that didn't pay off for me. They don't show who that is. So I'm wondering if that will go forward in some way, because I guess there's a character named Cliff Randall or something I was reading all these theories after the fact, and he plays into S.H.I.E.L.D. So maybe it's a character within S.H.I.E.L.D. that will build on later.
Cliff Clavin, he always goes to Cheers. He is the pub norm.
For people who've never been to dinner at my house. Will this get a second season? Probably not. I think the way that they left it is good. I think it leads into Doctor Strange movie. Obviously we see her doing her astral projection there at the end of you watched the
postcard.
So she's doing the astral projection. She looks just like Doctor Strange. She's learning. Will they make her more of like a villain-esque character? I don't know. She already kind of is almost.
Sure.
Because that's my thing I was left with too is, how are the Avengers going to feel about what she did here? Like, she enslaved a whole town.
Yeah.
And we saw these people suffering and what she did to them. So how are they going to, interpret that? And how is Doctor Strange going to interpret it? We were already told she's more powerful than him in this episode, in the final episode. We were also teased that the kids are still out there, I guess, in maybe a multiverse kind of way. Because I know a lot of people were let down by that. Like, oh my God, they killed the kids. They killed the Vision that we knew, whatever. But it's like, they're opening multiverse, so we might get them back.
Right.
I guess another cliffhanger is what happened to White Vision. Like, we had White Vision. Where did he go? Where's that going to play into, future MCU? I think it's West Coast Avengers is like a thing that he's like part of that team. Okay. So maybe it's going to build on that and make like West Coast Avengers, but I don't know if that really even
with that pale skin color on the beaches? No, sir.
Exactly. And then also we got the tease with Monica. We got Monica Rambeau getting her powers, and then in the last episode, she sees the Skrull who says they want her in S.W.O.R.D., blah, 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 whatever. So is that going to be a tease for Captain Marvel 2 and or Secret Invasion, I guess? They've already announced that's happening with Nick Fury. So they did do a lot of teasing and going forward. And I know a lot of people were like, oh, we're getting a season 2. I don't think we need a season 2. I think it did what it was supposed to do, and it's going to go into the other properties. And that's where I'm looking forward to all these shows. I hope they all do this and lead into their next properties, and that's the purpose of using these series. And I like it. If this is what we're going to get, I'm all in on all of them. So.
Agreed all around. I mean, it was called Series Finale was the name of the episode, not Season Finale, So with the so to compare Agatha to Wanda to Loki, like in the world's eyes, A, Agatha's done nothing wrong. B, Wanda just enslaved an entire town. People didn't get to see their children. You know, the one scene with the lady, she's like, "Can I just hug my daughter? I haven't seen her. She'll play the bully. She'll play whatever you want. Just let me hug her." Like these people are in immense pain. But then Loki, it's funny, in our eyes as the movie watcher, he's kind of gotten a redemption arc. But people in that world, he killed all those folks in Avengers, and they don't know that he's gotten you know what I mean? So like if Loki came back in that realm, they would be like, "You're a bad guy. We don't like you," type thing. So Agatha is almost the most innocent one out of them all. You know, in the comics, she's her mentor. Totally can see her coming back later on down the road where she needs to go to Agatha and say, "Okay, teach me how to be a witch properly. How are we going to go for it?" So I'm really looking forward to when they do that. You know, she's going to have to go back to Westview to take Agatha out of the spell. That would be awesome. Same thing. She's filming right now. I was watching her interview on Fallon and Elizabeth Olsen, and so she's in London filming Multiverse. Say it again.
For Doctor Strange, yeah.
Yeah. So you know it's happening right now. So it's all in the works. It's all got to be interconnected. And I'm with you, man. I mean, this one, it's a season. It's a one season. It's a one-off because there weren't things about that town or about that story of their grief that needs to be. Where would you go next? You know.
And Feige said recently, some of them are going to be multi-season, some of them aren't. So, I mean, it's just going to depend on what they're trying to do with the show, what they need to do with it. I just kind of wanted to shout out some of the other people in the show. You know, the Jimmy Woo, Randall Park character, that was good to get him back from, like, Ant-Man. And I like him going forward as, like, a new Coulson or something, like, to use him in that way and have him in multiple properties. As well as Darcy. You know, Kat Dennings wasn't bad. I know some people are annoyed with her. I like her character. I think it was cool to see her back outside of Thor and give her some other purpose. And then Teyonah Parris as Monica Rambeau. What a great piece of casting. You know, like Jeff's kiss, as Kevin Smith says. I don't know if you listened to that recently on his podcast. Somebody thought that they were saying Jeff's kiss, not Chef's kiss. So now he starts saying Jeff's kiss.
Oh, gotcha.
But yeah, anyways, I mean, because we've watched Captain Marvel a ton of times in my house, and I'm like, man, she looks and acts just like that little girl. Like, it really is a great piece of casting, and she's a really good actress. So I look forward to maybe seeing her down the road take on Captain Marvel or whatever, you know, and I think she's young enough, and I love seeing them grow a character over, you know, a decade and how they're going to use her. So I think we're going to see a lot more from her. Did you have any kind of favorites or not favorites of the episodes? Like, I know for me, I didn't really care about the Malcolm in the Middle or even the Modern Family. I feel like those two episodes, the way that they did the, like, sitcom-y kind of style of that, I didn't like as much as the older sitcom stuff.
The Malcolm in the Middle, I wasn't, because I was looking forward to a different 90s. You know, I was hoping for like a Seinfeld or a Friends or something to that effect. So I was disappointed at that one. I did like the Modern Fam Office one. That one was fine with me. I don't know. I liked the flow. You know, gave you the three and then brought you into the real world and then kind of went back. You know, and that was a point to the binge watching. Like, this was supposed to be episodic, where they were watching episodes, so therefore they gave this to us episodically. So it was kind of worked hand in hand. I think
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just trying to, off the top, just trying to think if I had an actual favorite episode. Probably the Agatha All Along, when they reveal everything.
Yeah, that was cool. And I like that kind of like Pleasantville Truman Show vibe that the show had overall. You know, like, we're watching them and what's going on in there, and she's controlling everything. It was just kind of like reminded me of those things, which I love.
Sure.
I really like the score of it. Christoph Beck did the score from he worked on Ant-Man previously. I thought that was pretty good. Like, every week when the credits start, if I'm not wanting to shut it off right away, you know what I mean? Like, that's a good sign. I'm enjoying the music of the show.
Sure.
I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to comment on the show. I don't know. I guess that's it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm extremely high on it. I thought it was great. I think for the overthinkers that we're all guilty of sometimes, that was the flaw. If you just break it down for the story that they told you.
I did have the Easter egg, I'm going to tell you. Like, there's Easter eggs throughout the show. Everybody was dissecting them each week, you know, whatever, and the commercials and all these different things. And I thought that was actually kind of cool. Some of the stuff that they did in the show, like retconned some of the original MCU stuff. Like, when they show her with the bomb and they're like, oh, she might have actually stopped the bomb. Like, she thought all along that it was just because it didn't go off, but it really could have been her powers. Like, I liked how things like that were done in the show to, like, rewrite what we knew about them. But anyways, the one standout Easter egg that I just found out about, I never knew, was there was a Stan Lee reference in episode 7 when during the opening it shows the license plate of a car and the
Mm.
numbers on it are 12/28/22, which is Stanley's birthday. So
Ah,
I thought that
very
was a nice
nice.
there. I never would have picked up on that myself. So I hate when a show makes me do homework, but I do enjoy like doing this and like researching like where are they going with this character? Where are they doing with this? What do these Easter eggs mean? So maybe that's why some of the people jumped out on it, and maybe that's part of
True.
the discourse and why people didn't like it is like, well, if I don't know these characters, I never read the comics, I'm not that familiar with it. I don't want to do homework. You know what I mean? To like a show,
Valid.
whereas people who are more invested might have enjoyed it more. So. But yeah, I'm high on it. I think it's a great show overall. I just think the finale did let me down a little bit, but I'm
Sure.
not as gonna go bash it like some people are. So I love it. I think they did a great thing, and I can't wait to see what they do with Falcon and Winter Soldier, kind of. But I'm really more looking forward to Loki, seeing where that goes. So
Yeah, because I think with Loki they can take these little chances and then these big swings
sure, yeah,
outside of their normal style that they do, so they can kind of have more fun with it.
sure.
Real quick, Emmy noms.
I would love to see Olsen and Han for sure.
Hmm.
Uh, and I'm wondering if music, song, those kind of things will also kind of play in.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know. What about you?
No, the only one that maybe Bettany can sneak in, but I'm with you. I think Olsen and Han.
Yeah, yeah. Olsen really impressed me. To make me like that character because I really didn't, and it
Sure.
made me also go back and revisit. Like I've been revisiting other stuff with my daughter now, and this is
Mm.
to play on the women thing, like to have a woman writer, and the movie is or the show is all about a woman dealing with her grief, all that stuff. It obviously spoke to my daughter and my wife, and we've been like rewatching other Marvel projects. We went back and revisited Ultron, things like that, which I don't even like, but now we've gone back and rewatched them, and you can kind of like reinterpret it in a way and be like, oh, it's not as bad as I remember, or now like that
Right.
they've shown me some other stuff. So I think that's cool that they've done that, and they kind of did the same thing with like Endgame, where they did that with like Thor: The Dark World, like, oh, we're going to show you the movie that you hate the worst, like
Right. Right.
smart how they're able to do that and retcon their own MCU.
All right, that's wrapping us up for WandaVision. Thanks for sticking with us through that in-depth review, and hit us up again on all the socials. Let us know your thoughts going forward on WandaVision and more. Now, coming to America. I'll
Okay,
start. I'll start
you're gonna go ahead. Go ahead.
because I feel your side, buddy. I'm high on it.
Really? Okay.
I
Okay.
enjoyed it. It's not
Okay.
good. It's not great, but I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna own the nostalgia crap, the exact same plot line, the predictable. I hate using that word when we talk about movies. Plot line, the kind of talking about, women equality stuff. Like we walk that line, but then this is a comedy, so we're not gonna hit you over the head with it. Cool. Um, I don't know. When Morgan Freeman's sitting there introducing Salt and Pepper and En Vogue, I was just like, I am loving this. This is great. I don't know. For some reason, I don't. I gave it like a 3 on Letterboxd, which is probably pretty high.
Yeah.
I'll never watch it again.
I think I'm probably in that same ballpark actually, but I
Okay.
think like I'm down more on it than you are. But go ahead, continue.
No, I just feel I don't know. Maybe I was in the mindset where I was just like, I'm just having fun with it. The daughter walked in like halfway through, and I had fun telling her, okay, so that's Eddie Murphy playing that guy, and that's Eddie Murphy play, and then
Yeah,
this is Arsenio. He's playing that guy too. I don't know. Maybe it made me nostalgic for the OG that came out and how amazing that film was, and the amazement of them playing so many characters.
sure.
I loved all the callbacks. They almost got every single person from the first one in there to give you that nostalgia. And I was telling my wife, I was like, when Leslie Jones showed up, I was like, ugh, she's playing an annoying character.
But she
How
was
annoying. But she didn't, right? That's why I was like, she like got there, but then stayed. I was like, she didn't annoy me at all. I appreciate it.
like Tracy Morgan did the same. He went to his level but didn't overdo it.
Yeah, exactly.
In a
Exactly.
way, they filled in for what I think in the first movie Eddie was a little bit more over the top. Whereas this movie, I feel like he was a little more subtle, a little more subdued, and didn't go crazy with his performance, and kind of left it up to the others in the cast. Like Eddie's barely showcased in it's more about his bastard son, whatever, and then these other characters that are introduced, Leslie Jones, Wesley Snipes, Tracy Morgan, like they have more showy parts than Eddie Murphy does, which is fine. But
Snipes stole the movie for me. When he
he
did
was,
that first walk, I was like, what are we doing here, man?
yeah. So I'm a little less high on it. I mean, I enjoyed my time with it, but I'm just like anybody I've talked to, I've been like, it's fine. It's
Yeah,
fine. You just got to go into it knowing it's going to be nowhere near as good as the original. Just nowhere near, in my opinion. And I don't like when a movie re-shows me scenes from the movie that I've already seen. Like, I
right.
didn't know it was necessary. Like, it almost felt like a TV trick. You know what I mean? Like an episodic show to do that. Like, let's show you what we did before. It's like this should be a movie, and if you're fans of this movie that you've known for 30 years, we don't need to retread that stuff. Whatever. But yeah, Eddie, Arsenio, they're great. They still look the same as they did 30 years ago somehow. It was great to bring back all those characters they embodied. Like you said, Leslie Jones, Tracy Morgan, they did good and new additions to the. I like Kiki Lane. I feel like Kiki Lane didn't get enough of a role. I wish I would have seen her more. That was good to see her in there. Jermaine Fowler, who is his son, he's actually a local guy from Hyattsville, Maryland, who hasn't really done a ton. So that's kind of cool to see him, and maybe he'll be able to, propel his career forward a little bit more. Did you catch Eddie Murphy's daughter was in there? Bella
Oh
Murphy.
no,
Yeah, she
who's
was
she?
one of his daughters in the movie Oma. I think she
Cool.
was like middle daughter
The
in
middle
the
kid.
yeah, so that was kind of cool to do that. And like you said, yeah, they tried to touch on it a little bit. They tried to flip the idea of the first movie. Like now instead of going to New York, we got to go back to New York to get the kid and bring him to Africa. So it was like a fish out of water the other way. Like he's coming from New York to Africa and whatever. Then they did deal with the female stuff a little bit. A little commentary. It wasn't over the top. It wasn't hitting you over the head. It took like 20 minutes to get going for me. Like the setup was a little okay, and then like Nextdoria, I was like, okay, kind of like rolled my eyes at that.
My problem
No,
in the beginning when they wake up in bed together, they
yeah,
wake up, Murphy and Lisa, they wake up, they sit up and they look at each other in the eye and then they talk. And I was like, neither of their breath is going to be good right now. No
no.
couple does that. There's no way you're going to look 2 inches from your wife and just start talking. No, that was the worst thing I had with the movie.
My favorite part of Nextdoria though, when they showed it and the guys were training with shake weights,
Yeah.
I thought that was great. We got some of those McDowell's jokes in there. They didn't overdo it. That was good. They kind of went back to it, but it was like, okay, we get it. McDowell's, whatever.
Sure.
There was a lot of callbacks, like you said, but I
Right.
do like Craig Brewer and Eddie Murphy and now Wesley Snipes. Like I keep thinking, why didn't these guys work together more back in the day? Like I love that they've now done Dolomite together and this. I way prefer Dolomite as my name over this. I think that
Oh,
was a
sure.
way better film, and
Sure.
enough people didn't see it. So I wish you guys, if you're listening to this, go back and watch that instead. But some of the stuff that they retconned or brought back, it was like the problem for me, I think overall, it was PG-13. I needed an R-rated movie. I feel like the original was R-rated for a reason, and that's what I needed to see. I didn't need to see Eddie Murphy say MFers. Like, don't say MFers. I want to hear you say the word. You're Eddie Murphy. I want that. The royal penis is clean. That whole scene when they flipped it, it was cute, whatever, but it just didn't
Sure.
sell it like it did in the first
You
movie.
needed the bathers to be naked for that scene. Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. They even went down like the remaking of the songs, like John Legend doing the song over that kind of. So like the songs and the soundtrack were kind of fun. I did have fun with that, like you said, on En Vogue and whatever, bringing them back. That was cool. The biggest thing that I took away from the movie that I was impressed with were, besides the costuming and makeuping, like that was pretty impressive. But
Sure.
where they filmed it, did you see this?
No.
The majority of this was filmed in Rick Ross's house in Georgia.
Seriously?
He owns like it used to be like a Vander Holyfield's house, and it's some like 45,000 square foot house on 200 something acres of land in Georgia. So the interiors were filmed in Rick Ross's house, and the outside, which is supposed to be like the plains of Zamunda, is actually Rick Ross's yard. Like how ridiculous is that? And he's in the movie as one of the guys, one of the soldiers with Wesley Snipes in Nextdoria, whatever.
Gotcha.
I don't know, just that was
That's
crazy to me.
crazy.
You got the little Prince remake in there too, that little breakdown, the Prince song that was
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
with
Yeah.
Teyana Taylor there. I don't know. It was fun, but don't just go into it knowing it's gonna be nowhere near as good as the original.
Sure.
A couple other kind of fun cameos. Trevor Noah, Colin Jost show up in a couple scenes. And like you said, you already talked about some of the other people. I was very impressed bringing back everybody from the original. John Amos, what did they say? James Earl Jones. They filmed all his stuff just at his house. They didn't even. He could
Oh,
not
really?
travel to do it for them, so they had to like film at his house and then like insert his scenes. So that was interesting.
I'm curious with him. What's our death count on his characters?
I don't know, and he's got to be. I'm worried, man. He's got to be getting near the end here because he doesn't look. He didn't look great.
He was
He
like
didn't,
90. He's 94 now, right? I think.
I'm a little
I think it's
worried.
something
A
like
little
that.
worried. We may have to fast track a James Earl Jones spotlight.
We may need to because I was thinking Mufasa and Vader and now this guy. Spoiler. There was a fourth, and now I can't think of who it was. There was a fourth person that I knew that he did.
the guy in Sandlot. I don't know. Does he die there?
Oh, he's probably dead now. Old Mr. Myrtle.
Yeah.
Um, Shoot, there was a fourth. I know. I'll think of it later. Either way, I was like, oh, his characters might be getting up there with the death counts. Either way,
Yeah, I think we're in the same camp though. Like overall, it's
sure.
fine. Just know going into it, it's not gonna be as good as the first one. But and I
One F bomb and a naked lady, and we'd be even. That's all we needed, folks.
wish it was just that R rating. I need it. I need it.
Okay, something that Tony did need was a cup of coffee before watching Raya and the Last Dragon. I did not catch up on this. You did. There was zero interest in my house. And I
Okay.
tried to push it, and then it was the price point, and then I was like, no, well, they're not interested, and I'm not doing it.
Yeah, this might be me having a younger girl in the house, and
Yeah.
that's why. And she was excited to see it.
Oh, good.
And we wanted to for $30. We sit down as a family of five. I mean, that's way cheaper than going to the theater and seeing it. So we all sat down to watch it. Kelly Marie Tran is your lead as Raya, and Aquafina shows up as Sisu. She's a water dragon in the film.
Hey, okay.
It's co-directed by Carlos Lopez Estrada, who did Blind Spotting. I loved that movie, so I was excited to see his name attached to it. And then Don Hall co-directs. He worked on Big Hero 6 and Moana. And this definitely rings of some Moana. It kind of wants to be Moana to some extent. It's almost like a mixture of Moana and Mulan. I guess is the best way to describe it. Or at one part I called it Rioters of the Lost Ark because she goes on like a little, I got to find these pieces of this stone or whatever to like bring back these dragons, whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, like you said in the opening there, this is a half review for me because I started watching it, made it through part of it, fell asleep for about the whole middle section of the movie. And then woke back up and had to get like, hey, what happened? Like somebody give me an update. And so I didn't watch the entire thing, but it was okay. I feel like I've seen a lot of people really high on it, and it's been really high on Rotten Tomatoes and saying how great it is, blah, blah, blah. It's not for me. I thought it was just okay. It's nowhere near Moana. It's nowhere near Frozen, like some of these other recent Disney animated movies that have been fantastic, in my opinion. So I will say Kelly Marie Tran and Aquafina had a nice chemistry. They like little kind of they go on like a little buddy cop, like I said, thing where they're going and finding these things together, fun little missions, and they work together. I did like how representative and authentic it was as far as voice casting. Gemma Chan plays kind of like an enemy in the movie. Daniel Day Kim is in there as her dad. Sandra Oh shows up. Benedict Wong. So all these kind of authentic voices, and I thought that helped for the voice cast and made it sound that much better. And it was really good voice performances, as well as the animation. It looks fantastic. There's no doubt about it. It's really
Okay.
well done. Just for some reason, it didn't grab me. I don't know if it was me being tired and just couldn't get into it, and maybe I need a rewatch. So you got to take my review with a little bit of a grain of salt there. But for me, it just wasn't as good as some of the other recent, Disney properties that they've given us. So that was a shame. But it's decent, and I think little girls, and especially if you have skin in the game about caring about Asian representation on film as well, you'll really enjoy that part of it. And I've seen some
Nice.
articles already. Just for me, it didn't hit as maybe as good as I wanted to. But I am fine with the $30. But if you're on the fence about it, wait. And I
Yeah.
guess in months maybe it'll be for free on Disney Plus.
It looks like that'll be our route. All right. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Field of Dreams. That was the other one that James Earl Jones died in. That's the
Yeah.
fourth one I was trying to think of. Okay, we both watched Boss Level, a movie that we saw the trailer for, knew nothing about, and then we're like, you know what? That looks kind of fun. I'm looking forward to when that eventually comes out. And we both jumped on it quick. That was one of the first ones I watched this weekend.
Yeah, and another movie that features kind of a Groundhog Day-esque, premise. We already had Palm Springs last year. This is becoming a more common trope to see in films, I guess, which is weird. Like, why wasn't it? Why wasn't this already like a thing where we saw lots of movies doing this? So I'm glad that, we've seen like Edge of Tomorrow and, things like that, but it's like not as often as you think movies like this come around. I thought this movie was just okay. I really wanted to like it a lot. I think part of the reason I didn't like it as much is Frank Grillo. I don't really care for Frank Grillo. I don't think he's that great of an actor. I almost find his voice annoying, especially in this movie. Like the first scene of the movie, he starts doing like a voiceover kind of thing, and I was like, oh, what is this? Like, I don't know. So it
Yeah.
bothered me kind of right off the bat. I like Mel Gibson. I don't think they used him enough. I think he should have been in there more. He was a really good villain. Naomi Watts, again, pretty much not used. Michelle Yeoh shows up for like one scene, really kind of dumb. She's in
Yeah.
the movie. Will Sasso, fine as a little adversary. Ken Jeong, some comedic relief, whatever. Rob Gronkowski is in this movie.
Wait, who's Gronk?
He's on the helicopter with the that's Rob Gronkowski.
Oh, that's Gronk. Really?
I
Huh.
was like, what? Why
I
is
never
he?
even I never even picked up on that. Okay.
But it's a fun movie. I've seen some people really review this highly as well. I didn't have as much fun with it as I thought I was going to, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a video game version of Groundhog Day at the end of the day. I just guess I didn't care. I didn't care about the character. I wasn't sold on his relationship with his kid or with his ex-wife, whatever, that they have this deep love and connection. None of that worked for me. So I just wasn't invested in, do I care if he survives or gets through this, I guess.
Yeah. I'm higher than you, but not by much. I loved everything about the video game stuff. He has to, make it through this day. All these assassins are trying to kill him, and then they do, and it gives you that old video game. Well, I made it this far. All right, now I got to start all over again. Make it through these parts. I know this is how I beat this level. Blah blah blah. I get that. And if I was a gamer, I probably would have enjoyed this like even more, like or enjoyed that aspect of it. Um, the to your Frank Grillo acting, like this is his lane and his only lane. I
Yes.
can't see him expanding in any capacity, and I think they took him, from his Crossbones character, which we're going to talk about later on in Marvel. And they're just like, how can we make him a lead? And like, this is kind of it.
Yeah.
The dude's shredded, absolutely
Oh,
shredded.
yeah, he's ripped. And that first scene, I was like, holy shit, maybe he needs to do a couple more acting classes and not so many,
Yeah,
bench presses or whatever. But yeah, what was the one we watched some Netflix movie too that he was kind of like the star of, and I was like, eh.
yeah,
I don't. He does nothing for me, I guess, and that's my main thing. Like, I almost wish I could see this movie with somebody else as a lead, and maybe I would like it better,
okay,
which is sad to say. But Joe Carnahan directs this. He did Smoking Aces. I kind of got that same feel as like a Smoking Aces.
sure.
Um, but it's weird. This was announced in 2012. It was originally filmed in 2018. Like, it's been delayed and kind of like
Huh.
sit in development for a while. It was actually part of that Movie Pass films where they were like trying to make films.
Oh yeah.
So then it was out like 2019. I think it did screen at like some kind of film festival or something, and then it's just now finally
Huh.
getting released. So it's like one of those weird ones that just took a while to get released for whatever reason. I really liked the soundtrack. I'll give it that. I thought it was cool how they used time-based songs. There were a few of them in there that like were just kind of laced in as like a nice
Hmm.
old school rock, soundtrack, but all the songs were kind of related to what was going on in the action. That was well done.
Sure.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's just Frank Grillo for me. It doesn't work, but it's a fun movie. The conceit of it's fun. It's just like Coming to America, right down the middle. It's okay. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely a popcorn, action-packed, turn your brain off type thing because you're right. The relationship with Naomi Watts and he's the dad, but his kid's 11, and it's like, oh, he hasn't been around, but the kid knows about him and knows that he's this badass, but he's not his dad, but he's this cool dude that visits every. I don't know. I was like, wait a second, where did we, and when did they break up? But she calls him because she knows he'd be perfect for this thing, but why is he perfect for that thing? A lot of questions
I'm
in there. I was like,
passing like, oh, he was in the military. Like, okay, like,
right. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And to be honest, the ending I didn't love. It kind of just like open interpretation type. What's going to happen? I was like, oh, you just made me buy in to all these, all these games. Him going through each level over and over and over again. To then, it's kind of I don't want to give away too much, but fun popcorn movie. Turn off your brain, enjoy the action. Lots of killing and stuff like that. So
It was,
nothing about
it's
it.
like Scott Pilgrim meets Groundhog Day.
Sure, sure.
Something like that. But I like both of those movies better. So
We will talk about Grillo a little bit later, as I mentioned in the Marvel Minute, just a fun little story to tell. But for now, a different story to tell is about Notorious B.I.G., a documentary that just dropped this weekend.
I feel like I'm gonna be saying this a lot today. It was fine. It was fine. It was
Hmm.
okay. I didn't learn anything new. I guess that's my problem with something like this. If I'm gonna
Right.
watch something like this, I want to learn something new. I want you to interview somebody else or do something to expand on the story of this guy. We all know Biggie. We grew up with him. I mean, maybe that's who this is for. Is for people who didn't have knowledge of his career or didn't grow up loving the guy like we did. And so yeah, it's nice to revisit his story and hear his music again and all that. But I just wish I'd learned something new. I guess was my biggest takeaway at the end of the day.
Yeah, I almost want to say go back and just watch the movie Notorious because that gives you the majority of the storyline, but kind of, better fleshed out.
Don't name the thing. I got a story to tell because you didn't. You didn't tell me the story.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it spent a lot more on his younger life than I was expecting. I thought we were gonna. I mean, granted, as soon as he became a big star, he then died. So there's not much to tell once that point starts. So I was like, okay, we're really going down this road of when he's younger and dealing drugs and how he was brought up. All right, cool. They had the mom on. a lot. So I thought that was, commendable for her to be on there and kind of tell his tale. But
Well,
I grew up a big,
without her and Puffy, like we
oh,
would
sure.
you lose his story. Like I feel like they are championing him all the time, so it's like they really keep moving that narrative forward all the time. So
I was glad Little Kim was not on there a lot. I don't know. I grew up a big Biggie fan. So you're right. There wasn't anything new that I learned from any of this. And as it's playing, the wife came and sat down and she was just like, "Oh, he and Tupac like had a feud." And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Oh, so Tupac killed him?" I was like, "Time out. Watch the show. Tupac's about to die." And literally as I said that, they went to his death and then whatever.
But I
So,
almost wish they would have like dove into that a little deeper and get you, yeah, bite some teeth and make some theories. They really didn't go that way. They were
yeah.
just like, yeah, this happened and here it is.
Yeah, they're like they used to be boys, but
Yeah,
and they didn't even get into the whole like Tupac almost getting killed going to visit Biggie as much as I thought. I thought we were going to get more
by
into
the way,
that.
he got shot at his studio, and then this happened. It's like what? Like,
And yeah, and now they're mad, and then the next night now Pac's dead or whatever. I don't.
yeah, maybe it would have been better expanded a little bit and made into episodic, like maybe 4 episodes that are like 40 minutes each, and get into some of that stuff a little deeper. Give me something else, but for what it's worth, it's fine. But if you're a
Sure.
big fan and you live through it, you're not going to find anything new here.
Agreed all around. All right, we're going to wrap things up with something that you saw all of and I saw some of.
Oh, you watched it. Okay, so this is a new Netflix documentary series called Murder Among the Mormons. 3 episodes, co-directed by Jared Hess, who's mostly known for Napoleon Dynamite. But he was born and raised Mormon, so I guess this story is kind of personal to him, and he wanted to get it out there. And it focuses on the Salt Lake City bombings in 1985. There were 3 different bombings targeting these rare document dealers. And I didn't really know of this whole underworld, that this was a thing, especially with the Mormon faith. I have some familiarity with it and some connection to it, and I know some of the stuff, but I knew nothing about the story, so I was kind of interested to get into it. And yeah, I guess because the religion is still kind of new, there is like this whole trade in rare documents. Oh, we can find letters about the creator of it and blah 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 and whatever. So this was a whole thing in Salt Lake City, and there was this salamander letter that came out, and the McClellan collection, all these things that came out that kind of were contradictory to earlier Mormon beliefs, and
Right.
that's why it was a big deal. And so then a lot of people were, theories came out of this, like who did these bombings? Was it the church that was involved, trying to silence these people to get rid of this information? Things like that. Um, it was fine for the 3 episode run that it was. I just wasn't like super gripped by it, and like even not knowing the story going into it, I was like, oh, okay, I kind of know who it is already by the first episode. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure. Yeah.
it kind of didn't like tease out that drama enough for me. And I don't want to get too far into it to spoil that either. If you do want to watch it, there's some interesting things and twists that get into the story that's worth watching to figure out for yourself. But overall, it's fine. It just wasn't like super interesting or great for me. I feel like I'm saying that all day. I'm sorry.
All right, so here's where we're going to do the adverse. I'm not going to try and bring you up because I gave up after
Oh,
about midway through episode 2. I legit gave up. In the first one, when they're talking about, hey, now this guy says that it was a white salamander that that came down and visited the Joe Smith guy, because I knew nothing, like very minimal, especially compared to going into it. So I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of neat. And so people had theories or whatever, or I was listening, but then once they got into could it have been the dude, or is there forgeries, is there this and that, I don't know, maybe it was the pacing of it or the tone. I was like, all right, let me get to episode 2, see how it goes, and I couldn't keep going.
yeah, I get that. I get that.
That's
And I
all.
guess it was just my connection to Mormonism and knowing
Okay.
knowing about it as I do that kind of kept me intrigued. So yeah, if you don't have that, I could see how you would fall out. And I agree. Yeah, the pacing on it or something, even just being 3 episodes, it's like, okay, like it probably could have just been one, one
Gotcha.
like 1 hour or 1.5 hour kind of thing instead of 3 eps. I don't know, but
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. If you have interest in it, folks, check it out. But go in there with kid gloves, I guess, or whatever they say. All right, we're going to take a quick break. There's all of our reviews. Thanks for sticking with us through all of those, guys. We hope you enjoy them. Hit us up on the socials. Let us know your thoughts towards those reviews and more. We will be right back. All right, I saw 0 trailers. You saw a couple of trailers. So let's chit-chat a wee bit about trailer talk.
yeah. And this is my fault. Usually behind the scenes here, folks, I kind of tell Brian what to watch throughout the week and what I've come across.
It's a
And there were
loaded sentence right there.
There were a couple new drops this week that I thought were worth checking out. The best of them is the Without Remorse trailer, which is the new
Okay.
B project coming to Amazon on April 30th. April 30th. This looks good, man. This looks like a Jack Ryan type thing. I
Mm.
think he looks badass in it. He has, some nice scenes in there to showcase his talents. So check out the trailer. I didn't realize it was co-written by Taylor Sheridan also, who he did like Hell or High Water. Like I like some of those things that he's been involved in. So him working on a Tom Clancy project, and with Michael B. I feel like this is just ticking off all the boxes for me, and I'm gonna love this show. I feel like so. Can't wait to check it out. We also got a trailer for Thunder Force. Did you see this one?
Thunder Force. Wait a second. This is what's her name? The two.
Melissa McCarthy
Yes, I
and
did see this trailer.
Spencer. Okay.
I did
So,
see this trailer actually. Yeah,
yeah,
rock
so
and
this is
roll.
coming April 9th to Netflix, and it's actually directed and written by Melissa McCarthy's husband, Ben Falcone, who's also in the movie. The trailer looks fine. It looks like it could be fun. It doesn't look like it's going to be amazing, but what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, it looked like fun. It looked like we could have some fun with it. I like the two of them, as long as they stay in that area,
Sure.
which looks like they're both gonna. Looks like they're both gonna do
Yeah,
well. A fun little take on superhero stuff.
sure. And then lastly, something else kind of not in my lane, but it looked kind of fun was Bad Trip. And this is starring Tiffany Haddish, Lil Rel Howery. It looks like a camera prank kind of movie, like something like Bad Grandpa, like the guys from Jackass would do.
Yeah, yeah.
So it looks kind of fun in that way, just like a hidden camera prank kind of thing. So yeah, check out the trailer for it. I thought it looked moderately funny. It's only going to be an hour and 24 minutes long. Um, Weird thing, Ludwig Göransson is involved with the music for it. I was like, that's weird, but yeah. So whatever. Check out Bad Trip. That's coming to Netflix on March 26th, actually. So pretty soon, 2 weeks or so.
Okie dokie.
Yeah,
Very
but
cool.
that's it. I didn't really see anything else worth talking about.
That's gonna
Gotta check
wrap up
out
the.
that Without Remorse trailer when you get a chance, though. You're gonna love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Done with trailer talk. Going to what's in the glass.
Ooh, I'm excited because I have no clue what you're gonna tell me.
And I'm throwing you a curveball this week, buddy, because I'm actually not going to review a beverage. I was flipping around, scrolling through, and I was on the Hulu and randomly saw a documentary on the story of bourbon. It's
Oh,
called Neat, the Story of Bourbon. Came out actually in 2018. It was made in 2016 and came out in 2018. It's currently on Hulu, or you can rent it on Prime. I did go deeper and saw that they also had scotch and whatever. Very cool, very interesting. Anyone that's into the distilling and how it all works and like the history of certain things, and of course bourbon, very American product. Check this out. Watch this. It's a quick watch. It's not very long. And obviously it gives you, how do you make bourbon with the mash and the corn and the reason that it's called bourbon versus whiskey and how it all got started. But then it also goes into the different theories, like who was the first guy to actually make bourbon, why did they put it in the charred cask, all those kind of things. Uh, I don't know. I was just nerding out. I was nerding out on the making of bourbon, and I'd been on distillery tours.
while watching that, right? I mean,
Say it again.
I said you'd have to drink while watching it, right? I mean,
I do recommend that because I watched it in the morning, and immediately it was done. I was like, kind of, I kind of just want to have a little bourbon. The best part of it, they had this little debate. So they get the first guys on there that like it's been passed down through their grandfathers, and his grandfather all did it, and it means so much to them to sit and enjoy. And bourbon is supposed to be enjoyed over conversation with family and friends, and you're supposed to just go slowly with it, what have you. And that's normally how I drink bourbon as well. On the rocks versus neat. That's the biggest debate in my house. But so then later they get to these younger, hipper bartenders who are like, nah, man, bourbon's bourbon. It's more booze. And one dude got challenged to make Jello shots out of it. And he was like, I'll do it. And he made bourbon Jello shots. And now apparently that's what that pub in Tennessee is famous for. Their bourbon Jello shots.
that sounds weird. I don't know if I'd like that.
The lady went in and she tried it, and it almost looks like a half martini glass, like this big thing. And she shot it, and she was like, "That tastes delicious, but I love bourbon, so maybe I'm swaying this." And he's like, "Whatever. We just feel if it makes you feel good, drink as fast as you want."
Okay. Whatever.
If you get an hour, you want to check it out. It's the story of bourbon. It's called Neat, the story of bourbon. It's kind of fun, something to look at.
Cool.
All right, time for a little casting couch.
All right. Kind of a busy week in casting, I think. Regé-Jean Page, we're going to hear his name a couple times, I think, but him, Billy Bob Thornton, and Alfred Woodard have all joined the cast of The Gray Man. And this is that Russo brothers movie for Netflix with Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling.
Right.
That's interesting that he's getting involved in something like that because I feel like that's a Bond-esque property, and a lot of people have been tossing his name out there as like a future Bond. I
Hmm.
gotta say, I've never watched the Bridgerton, but I mean that's obviously why he's so successful and out here in all these news items. But I saw him on SNL. He was fine, but I didn't get a Bond vibe from him watching on SNL.
Interesting.
Did you watch the
I
Bond or did you watch the Bridgerton at all?
I
Like,
only watched one episode, and he's not in it a ton. He definitely had that like air where he could go with like that suave in there, but I haven't seen him do any like actiony stuff, so I don't know.
yeah, maybe that's it. Like, I guess I could see the sexual appeal, things like that angle, but I couldn't see him as like an action guy. I don't know. Like
Sure,
he
sure.
looks kind of scrawny to me. I don't know, but uh, so yeah, there's that. Let's see. Hugh Grant has been cast in Dungeons and Dragons as a villain, so that's
Okay,
cool. And also Sophia Lillis is joining the cast.
okay.
Uh, and that cast already had Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Justice Smith, and Regé-Jean Page in it. So
Dang.
Dungeons and Dragons is kind of like shaping up to be a big cast, big movie. We kind of talked in the past about how this was a terrible movie the first time around, and
Mm.
nobody really saw. So maybe this time they'll actually make it a good property. I don't know. We'll see. So, but I like Hugh Grant as a villain. That's cool. There's almost like a Hugh Grant like renaissance going on with
Yeah.
his roles. So that's cool. Jodie Comer has been cast as Josephine in the new movie Kit Bag, opposite Joaquin Phoenix. He's playing Napoleon Bonaparte. We had already kind of announced that casting
Yeah,
recently.
yeah.
This is coming off of The Last Duel, which she had already starred in for Ridley Scott. So obviously Ridley Scott enjoys her work, and that's a movie with Matt and Ben that's coming out later this year. So
Right.
that's exciting. And then this is coming to Apple, the Kit Bag movie. And so Ridley Scott is directing that after he finishes up House of Gucci, which he's working on right now with Lady Gaga. So, yeah. So Ridley Scott, who knew he was just going to continue to be super busy over and over again, you know?
Yeah, really.
That's three big projects coming from him in the near future. So, and I'm excited to see Jodie Comer kind of finally taking off. I've been a big fan of her for Killing Eve for a while, so I'm glad to see her getting bigger projects.
All right.
Jessica Alexander, I'm not familiar with, but she is joining the cast, live action cast of Little Mermaid.
Okay.
So they didn't say which character she's going to be playing. I guess she was on Disney shows, a couple Disney shows, so she's a younger actress. But yeah, so she's joined that cast. Robert Zemeckis is working on that live action Pinocchio. He has added Cynthia Erivo as the Blue Fairy and Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Jiminy Cricket. That's interesting casting there. So let's see how that pans out there. Indira Varma, you may know from Game of Thrones. You may not know her name, but if you saw her, you'd recognize her. She was in Game of Thrones as the main Sands woman. I forget what her name is. Illyria Sands or something like that was her name.
Okay. Hmm.
You'd know her if you saw her. She's joining the
Sure.
cast of Obi-Wan, the Obi-Wan series. So that's exciting. We haven't really got a lot of news there, but the other thing we saw tied to the Obi-Wan series is that Ewan McGregor himself has been mentioned as having a recurring role in the Andor series. So
Hmm.
that is actually filming already right now, and he's been on set, I guess, filming a little bit of like a cameo, and I guess they're going to try and tie those two properties in. So he's going to be in Andor,
Makes sense.
and then Obi-Wan is going to film next. So that's
Beautiful.
the next thing I'm looking forward to. If Disney can do all this crazy stuff with Marvel and what they've been doing, I can't wait to see what they do with the Star Wars stuff. And I'm really excited for both of those properties.
Sure.
I want to say that's it for me as far as casting. Did you have anything else I missed?
Amazon thriller series called The Terminal List has their leads of Riley Keough and Chris Pratt.
Okay.
A spy thriller film called Agent Game. Catherine McNamara, big fan. Dermot Mulroney and Mel Gibson.
Okay.
The Sci-Fi Now series on Chucky. We've confirmed that Teo Briona, Zachary Arthur, Jennifer Tilly, and Devon Sawa will all be a part of it.
Okay, that's interesting that Tilly, she was involved in the movies, so I
Yeah,
guess
yeah, yeah.
gonna tie her character back in. That's interesting.
I was going to ask you, any of those other names, were they in them or just her?
I don't remember the rest of them being involved. No, not off the top of my head.
The movie Ticket to Paradise with George Clooney and Julia Roberts, we've mentioned in the past, they have added Billy Lord as playing their daughter.
Okay.
And I guess the main part of that movie is about that character. There's
Okay.
Billy Lord's character. So
And we like her, so that's good to see her getting more
attention.
work.
Ray Liotta, Paul Walter Hauser, and Taron Egerton in the Apple limited series In with the Devil.
Ooh, okay.
Enjoy
Those
those
are good
names.
names too.
And lastly, The Good Fight season 5 has added Mandy Patinkin.
Ooh, I
I'm
like
just wondering when he joins like a new cast, he's like, "Hello, my name is Mandy Patinkin. You
I,
didn't
you
kill
know,
my
it's
father."
funny, and I don't know if it's because I watched Homeland for so many years, but
Mm,
that's what I think of with him almost more than Princess Bride. Is
really?
that weird? Yeah.
No, not
I
at all.
loved his role on Homeland so much, and I don't know, it's iconic to me. So
My parents saw him in concert.
really, that's
Yeah,
interesting. Hmm,
yeah, pretty wild. Before Homeland, it was like pre-Homeland. He had a
nice.
couple albums out.
He has a
That
great beard.
say it again.
He has a great beard. Nice
He
thick beard.
does.
Hmm.
Great beard game. This is true. Done with the casting couch. On for a podcast recommendation.
Yeah, that's me. I shouted out a couple podcasts recently that are a little more movie related, things like that. Sometimes I'll bring on like true crime stuff, whatever. But recently I've been going down a rabbit hole of just like, let me find some other movie podcasts that are a little more like professional, not just our indie buddies and things like that. And this is from it's called Awards Circuit, and it's from Variety. Friend
Oh,
of the show, Clayton Davis, who I've actually discussed movies with before, talked to him on the side. He was involved in Middleburg. I kind of talked to him a little bit while Middleburg was going on. He was recently promoted to like the head of Variety's like movie stuff, and he started this podcast. So he started this back in October, and it's got about 25 episodes. It's cool the way they do it because it's split. The episodes are split in half, where it's like the first half hour or so, it's Clayton and his crew, and they get in there and kind of do like a little roundtable discussion about kind of like we do, like news and casting and things, box office results, whatever, almost like what we do, but it's just like a little half hour roundtable discussion with him and his buddies. And then the rest of the episode is a couple interviews. Sometimes it's two other interviews with actresses or actors or whatever that have current projects out. So I really enjoy the show just because of Clayton more than anything. He's a really great guy. His passion for film and all that stuff really comes through, and I think he's really just a personable guy. And you can tell that he puts the people he's interviewing at ease, and they just really feel like friends with him. And he gets, I think, more answers out of them than other interviewers do, just because of the way he interviews, and
hmm,
just seems like a really approachable, nice guy. So
okay.
I think that's what made me enjoy the show so much more than some of the other kind of interview podcasts that are out there or things like that. So check out
Cool.
Awards Circuit, hosted by Clayton Davis. It's the Variety movie podcast, very similar to the Scott Feinberg's Awards Chatter or whatever it's called, or I forget what I call it, whatever it's called. But
Yeah.
another podcast I listen to that is just strictly interviews. He's the same way, like does a really good job of the interviews. But this one also throws in some news and things like that. So kind of a cool podcast to check out if you're into movies and don't want to just listen to us.
I like it. Thank you, folks, for listening to us. What we're going to do is take a quick break and be right back for the final act of the show.
Ooh, already, all right.
Yeah, we're doing okay here. Folks, if you're checking us out on YouTube, one thing you should check out right now is Tony's freaking guns, man. Just
No,
bold.
noodle
Look at
arms,
the
man.
left one. Now, when you do that lean thing, oh my goodness. Oh,
It's all
woo.
hairy too.
Beautiful. I feel like women's brasiers are being thrown at their computers right now. It's
Yep.
like,
Hey,
holy
if that
cow.
happened, let us know. Reach out and let us know if you threw your bra at the YouTube.
Shy, we're looking at you. No, just kidding. All right, let's do some Hollywood news.
Okay, this is not necessarily Hollywood news, but more like local news, and I kind of just want to throw it out. Rest in peace to Peter Dibbler. Do you know who Peter Dibbler is?
Ooh, that rings a bell. No.
Local kind of celebrity, better known as Kane, The Kane Show, which was on Hot 95 from 2006 to 2020. He actually passed away this morning.
What?
I guess that's why they ended the show last year, is because he's been suffering a long illness. They didn't really say what it was. He was only 43 years old, and he has two daughters. So, yeah, so
Oh
just
man.
happened right before we started recording. So Kane
I,
from The Kane Show, yeah.
I remember the controversy when he just like done. Like it's over. We're
Yeah,
not
they just ended the
not on
show.
the air anymore.
I guess
And so
that's why
everyone's
he just wanted some privacy, like through his whatever he was dealing with. They didn't really even say what it was. So
no kidding. He was huge, man. I remember when he
yeah,
first started doing the roses thing, catch the people
yeah, and that's
cheating
what I
or
was gonna
whatever.
say. It became like a nationally syndicated big show,
Yeah.
iHeartRadio, all that kind of stuff. Like it kind of started as more of a local thing, but got big and picked up some steam. So yeah, that's sad. Just wanted to mention it as kind of like a local
Hmm.
news thing.
Oh, sad to
Um,
hear.
yeah, real quick, I just wanted to touch on the box office. Didn't do want to do like a whole breakdown, but Raya this weekend only made 8.6 in its
Hmm.
debut. So they were kind of down on that. It was 41% below Tom and Jerry the weekend before. Um, so that's interesting. We're going to need to come up with like a new metric to know how these streaming things are happening. Almost like we don't find out soon enough how many people streamed it. So you can really like compare and contrast in that way.
Sure.
So how many families actually ponied up the 30 to watch it at home? I don't know. The thing that might have affected it is Cinemark, which is the third biggest chain in the U.S., didn't show Raya. They
Really?
disagreed with the Disney model of like offering it at the same time, so they just said we're not going to show it. So that's a lot of screens that it didn't get on as well.
Right.
So globally, it took in 26.2 for the weekend. Not great, and I guess that's kind of a downturn for the box office. I think last week we were a little like, ooh, we're getting high, we're coming back, but this week was a little bit of a downturn. And then also third debuting was Chaos Walking, which only opened with 3.8 million. I think it's sitting at like 20 something on Rotten Tomatoes last I checked. But that thing has been delayed,
Yeah.
$100+ million budget, reshoots, all these things. They invested a lot of money in it, and for them to only get 3.8, that's a little worrisome. So,
And we're going to have a review of
next
that
week.
on next week.
Yep, there you go. All right, The Rock is producing a movie for Netflix called Teddy and the Guardians of the Night. Have you ever heard of this? Apparently, this has been kicking around for a while, since 2013, when he saw a drawing. This is based on is a drawing, and it's called Sweet Halloween Dreams is the name of the drawing.
Okay.
And it's just like a teddy bear defending this girl sleeping with like this big monster coming over her bed.
Oh.
And so he just saw this drawing and said, we're going to make a movie out of that. And so they've been doing that since 2013. So now it's officially like picked up some steam. It's going to Netflix and it's getting going. So Teddy and the Guardians of the Night sounds interesting.
Teddy Ruxpins.
Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. Maybe I'll add the picture in the show art.
Beautiful.
So Spielberg, the Duffer Brothers, and Stephen King are getting together to produce a TV series on The Talisman, which is one of his old properties from the 80s, 1984 book. So that's interesting. I like, the Duffers are involved with Stranger Things, for those that don't know. So I like that. I like the combination of all those people working together, and I can't wait to see what they come up with. I have too many notes here, buddy. Let me get to my other news here.
Oh, no.
Did you hear about the controversy of Pepe Le Pew this week?
I did.
He's now been canceled. He's been removed from Space Jam 2. There was a New York Times column that kind of talked about his character and saying that he contributes to rape culture and the way that he is portrayed, and they think it's time to kind of get rid of him. So he actually did already have a scene filmed, and they are removing it from the movie. The weird thing is the woman that filmed the scene with him is actually an activist for sexual assault and sexual violence, and she said that the scene they filmed was actually kind of giving him his comeuppance, and it was like a rebuffing of him doing the things he did.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a way of like bashing that culture. So why would they now remove it? It's kind of weird. I don't know.
Just don't even want to stir the topic up in general, maybe?
So we've seen a lot of that the last couple weeks, and it is what it is. What's that?
I was saying Space Jam. You saw the pics. You saw Lola Bunny. They desexualized Lola.
People were pissed about her not having big tits. It's like, it's a cartoon bunny. Are you kidding?
They really, you can tell they really did go out of the way. And I hear
like
the
gave her like a
saying,
baggy jersey.
Yeah, she's got
like a sports bra.
Exactly. Whereas the last one, she was super sensual, whatever. And I feel the people that are like, what, good-looking girls can't play sports too? It's like, all right, yes, but that's not the argument here. And
it's funny because I'm going to get political for a second here, but it's funny because certain people leaning a certain political way are the ones who are getting so riled up over the things like, it's cancel culture, get rid of Pepe Le Pew, you can't have Dr. Seuss books, you can't have Mr. Potato Head, whatever. But they don't care about what happened on the 6th at the Capitol. Like, they think that's okay, but don't touch Mr. Potato Head. Like, like, God forbid, whatever.
I need my Lola's sexy.
Let me get off my soapbox for a minute. Some release date moves, which actually I'm pumped about. Yep. Quiet Place 2 moves up to Memorial Day from September, so that's good. We're finally going to get that a little sooner. Fast 9 moved back a little bit to June. That's kind of why Quiet Place was able to move into Memorial Day, so that's good. And then they moved Minions Rise of Gru a full year. It's not coming out till next July now. So I don't know if they're retinkering on that thing or what's going on there, but so that got moved a full year. Kalinda Vasquez, who is currently a writer for Fear the Walking Dead. She's also done some Star Trek stuff. She's going to be writing a Star Trek movie, which will be the first female writer of a Star Trek movie. Obviously, there's been people working on the shows and stuff like that, so that's big news there. We'll see what happens. Nice. We talked all last week about the Golden Globes, right?
Yes.
Did you see the ratings?
Oh, they had to have been bad.
Ooh, down 64% from before the previous year. 6.9 million viewers only. This is the second lowest ever, only beating the 2008 year where we had the writer's strike and they didn't even really they just did like a news conference. Do you remember that?
Yes, yeah.
So that's the only other year that was worse than this. Just for the week, for an example, 3 other shows on CBS beat the Golden Globes. So 60 Minutes, Young Sheldon, and Equalizer all had more people watching than the Golden Globes. So that's a big hit for them. Maybe people just don't care about award shows anymore. I don't know.
I think that is definitely a thought process there. The way they did it maybe was definitely a factor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird because I felt the Emmys got the Zoom thing kind of like they did a good job with it. Yeah. It's weird that the Globes didn't. I don't know.
And I think it might just be the products too. I think a lot of people just don't care about these movies that are the front runners this year. People don't care about Minari or Nomadland, like your cinephiles and things like that. But there weren't any like really big, largely accepted movies to get behind. Yeah, besides a Sal, maybe,
That's why Invisible Man should have got nommed.
Yeah. All right, so Silent Night, Deadly Night is one of the classic horror movies. It got 4 sequels and a remake already. They're doing it again. We're going back to the well. We're trying to reboot this franchise. I actually really like the first one, and the second one is okay. And then they kind of trail off as they go. Each one gets worse. So we'll see. I don't know if it's worth it, if they can really inject any new life into that. But it's a cool concept. We'll see. Jeanette McMurdy, who you may know from iCarly, she wasn't the main character, but she was Sam, and then they like spun her off into her own show, Sam and Cat, with Ariana Grande. Yeah. So they're bringing that show back, but she said, "No, I'm not doing it. I'm not coming back." She gave a big interview recently, and she said she's done with acting. She's actually ashamed of some of her previous roles that she was involved in, and she just had a bad experience with the whole thing. She remembers. One story that she told was that when she was 10 years old, she had a casting agent telling her mom that she was homely, and that's why she didn't get cast for a role. And she's like, just the way the whole thing works, she just is kind of against it. So she's stepping away and doesn't want to be involved. All right, IMDb TV, that's a lot of letters. They are picking up the Bosch spinoff. So Bosch has been a pretty successful show. I know. Like my dad watched a couple seasons of it. I didn't realize it was 7 seasons already, and there's a whole huge book series, whatever. But Amazon is getting its final season of it, season 7. IMDb TV is picking it up. I don't know if it's just going to be called Bosch again, but they're like basically picking up the story wherever it's leaving off with Amazon. So I guess it's a spinoff, but not really.
Cool.
There's conversations about a new Jumanji, if you will, Jumanji 3/4, however you look at that series, whatever. They're in development. They're talking about doing another one, which is cool. I think the way they left it, I was surprised that they didn't already announce a sequel.
Sure.
So they kind of left it open for more. So that may be coming our way. Gore Verbinski, he's reteaming with Roger Deakins. They worked together on Rango, which won the Best Animated Feature 2011. They're reteaming to do 2 more animated movies, not related to Rango, but 2 more movies. One of them is going to be a musical based as well. So I guess it's just a fact of getting Deakins to be available for it because he's a very busy guy. Yeah, that's actually, he has a podcast.
Oh, really?
Roger Deakins has a podcast. I haven't listened to it, but it's all about like directing and the different choices, and he talks to other directors and things like that. So could be interesting to check out. I've never listened to it. Last couple things for me. The Simpsons renewed for season 33 and 34, so that show's never going away. Happy 10th birthday to Bart for the 34th time. Did you ever watch the show Party Down that was on Starz about 10 years ago? Had Adam Scott, Jane Lynch, a couple other kind of big actors and actresses in it. It was only on for 2 seasons, and they were like short seasons, and it was all about the caterers that work in Hollywood is basically what they were. So that show is actually coming back. They're getting a revival of 6 episodes at Starz, and they're hoping that all the people come back. Paul Rudd was involved in it. He was actually one of the creators and co-writers and stuff. So we'll see. That's another one where it's like, can we get all those people at the same time available to come back? So I think that's it for me as far as news. I know that was a lot. I tried to get through it quick. We got some DC Marvel still to talk about, but did you have anything else?
Yeah, good news is the majority of mine is what you already had as well. But I had Galaxy Quest 2. Sigourney Weaver was asked, and she said yes, it is a go.
Yeah, I've heard that they've been working on it, possibly writing it. The big hang-up is still Alan Rickman. Like, what do you do with his character? What do you
Sure.
Do you rewrite or do you try to recast? I think you just get rid of the character, period.
Yeah, definitely. Other cancel culture stuff, if you have Disney Plus and you want your kids to be able to watch Dumbo, Peter Pan, They got to be on your account. They're no longer offered on the children's account because of
Because they have
different reasons.
that little racial thing up front or whatever, that little warning,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So
Same thing
if
with the
it's
Muppets. Muppet Show has that now, like so many episodes. We didn't talk about it really on here, but
mm-hmm.
whatever. I mean, it was a different time. You put things in context. It's a 10-second thing that shows up on your screen. Who cares? Like,
Yeah.
why do people care so much? I don't know.
And then we talked about last week with the Halloween 4 Press Association and all the backlash they were getting going into the Globes could have factored into the low ratings, of course. People were very upset with them for not having any black members. They have come out and given a statement that going forward, they are going to make grand transformational changes.
Okay.
Thank you and good night.
Good. Speaking of awards, and I know we just said that we don't care about awards. Did you want to talk about that a little bit? Critics' Choice and stuff?
Yeah, Critics' Choice was over the weekend. What was the other one? Same time.
Hollywood Critics Association, which isn't as big, but I did kind of want to go through it because I did like some of the winners there.
I feel like we know Best Picture winner at this point for the Oscars.
I'm wondering if you're right. Yeah, I think Nomadland really does seem to be solidifying itself as the front runner. Which, have you caught up with it yet?
No, this week. I'm doing this week.
Okay. So I'm looking forward to hearing your second take. Well, that could be a new thing to see what you think about the movie. But and same with Boseman. I think Boseman has locked in. He's won a lot of these awards. I know early on people were like, "Ooh, Hopkins for the father could sneak in there and steal it," but seems like most organizations are giving it to Boseman. So that's good. I was happy to see Carey Mulligan get an award for Promising Young Woman. Thankfully, True. I'm hoping that helps propel her into some Oscar, here. But I don't know. People keep saying Maria Bakalova because they have another split thing with this Critics' Choice where it's comedies and dramas. So right. Bakalova won again. So that's another one that could sneak in and could get an Oscar for Borat too. I mean, we'll see. Kaluuya getting another award. That's big for him.
Sure.
I would love to see him get an Oscar. So we'll see. Minari got another win. Ensemble for Trials of Chicago 7, which I'm guessing we'll see that repeat at SAG as well. They'll probably win there.
Yeah.
Chloe Zhao, are we going to see her win?
So she's now up to 40 plus awards for it, between director and picture.
Which we had said earlier this year. This is Fincher's year. Because of Mank, he's going to win finally, but it doesn't seem like it's going to go that way. But that's awesome. That's awesome for Chloe Zhao, so I'm excited. Emerald Fennell winning original screenplay, that's huge. We got to talk about that when we do our best of 2020, which is very delayed. Just like the Oscars, we kind of delayed ours 2 months. But when we talk about that, what a year for firsts. There was a lot of great firsts in 2020, so I do want to talk about that. Anything else stand out for you as far as winners?
No, those are the big ones. Chloe's Out and the Nomadland. I think it's almost in stone which the direction we're going. I agree with what you were talking about earlier. Maybe just a lot of people just aren't excited for these specific films, and that's why we're not getting this much buzz. I did enjoy that Schitt's Creek. They grabbed a couple more actor awards with the critics,
Lasso,
which was nice.
Too,
yeah, and Lasso as well. So just things I'm a fan of. So.
In your Queen's Gambit and your Crown, those always are kind of like clearing up stuff. Tenet won visual effects, so that's cool.
Yeah.
We'll see if that translates to the Oscars. Palm Springs won comedy.
Boom.
Is there a world where we can get Palm Springs a Best Picture nom? I would love to see that. Like, that'd be amazing.
Don't even tease me.
Yeah, we'll see. Best song, Leslie Odom won for One Night in Miami, so that was cool.
Okay.
I was glad to see him get that. Soul won for score again with Trent and Atticus. So I feel like there's a lot of stuff that's just kind of like, that's what we expect. So maybe the Oscars will throw us a couple curves, I hope.
Hope so.
So, but what do we have? We still have SAG before then, so we'll have to see how that turns out.
Yeah.
So let me just quickly talk about the Hollywood one as well. The Hollywood Critics Association gave out their awards, and the Best Picture winner was Promising Young Woman.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I was pumped about that. Also, Delroy Lindo wins Best Actor. Yes. So I would love to see Oscars at least give him a nomination. Shit. I think he deserves it. I think he's been overlooked a lot. Carey Mulligan won actress there. Paul Raci from Sound of Metal won supporting actor. That's awesome. I love his performance in Sound of Metal.
Yeah.
The grandma from Minari won for Best Supporting Actress, which I love as well. So they gave some kind of off the cuff, like different awards there, which was kind of cool. Darius Marder won Best Male Director. He directed Sound of Metal. And then Zhao won for Nomadland for female director, which is cool that they have two different categories in and of itself.
Sure, why not?
Emerald Fennell won again there for original screenplay. Adapted screenplay went to Kemp Powers for One Night in Miami, another one I loved last year. Ensemble went to Five Bloods, so that was different. Good for them. Animated or VFX performance. This is something different that they do. Ben Schwartz for Sonic the Hedgehog. I was like,
Sonic?
yeah, cool. I
Nice.
wish that was. I mean, we've talked about it before. I wish that was an Oscar category. Andy
Sure.
Serkis would have a couple Oscars on his shelf at this
You
point.
would. He'd be an
Best
EGOT winner
action.
somehow.
They have a best action movie. Went to Birds of Prey.
Okay.
Wolfwalkers won the animated film, so that's a little different
Ooh,
going
okay.
against Soul. Maybe that will have some competition there. Palm Springs won again, a comedy one. Uh, horror movie. They do a best horror movie, Invisible Man. So there you go.
Nice.
So yeah, there were some cool awards there. This was one I sent to Shy. I hope he's listening. I don't know if he saw or not. Best original song went to Huskovik, my hometown from Eurovision.
Nice. Okay.
Well, yes, I so badly want to see the Oscars have a performance of that. I would love to see Will and Rachel McAdams do that, and then also
Yeah.
have the Wuhan flu be nominated and have Borat perform
That'd be
that.
fantastic.
What a
Yeah.
great year that would be. So I think other than that, there wasn't anything special that jumped out
Sure.
at me, but I thought those were cool and just a little different take on the award show. And I like to see some of these critics and what they choose to nominate and what they care about. So kind of fun. Like you said, next thing to look at is SAGs, and then the Oscar nominations are next week, and we'll have a lot to talk about that next week.
Sorry, not sorry. Tony and I are big awards nerds, and we'll be
Yeah.
chatting about them a little bit all the way until April 25th, baby. We got a lot more. It's funny, I'm not the biggest Facebook guy, but they give you the memories, where it's like
Mm-hmm.
shows you what you've posted years back, and like these
Sure.
past couple of days or whatever, it's like Oscars 2016, like pictures of doing the Oscar
Oh,
party
like
nights.
the ceremony actually already happened. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just like, oh man, it like this was Oscar weekend 5 years
Yep.
ago, and last weekend was Oscar weekend. I was like, ah man,
Sure.
it's got me in for it. Okay, so done with the Hollywood news. Moving on to a little DC discussion.
DC, I don't know if I have anything besides the Superman and Lois getting renewed right away. After that first episode, they renewed it for a second season. They said the 90-minute debut episode had 1.75 million viewers. In delay viewing, 2.7 million. I guess that's people that watched it late, couple days later,
Yeah,
reruns of DVR or whatever.
yeah.
The biggest single day audience for CW since the Crisis episode, and the largest one-day streaming audience for a new series on CW. So, of course, they're going to renew that. I
Yeah.
heard some other people kind of be in lockstep with you that they enjoyed it. I heard some people talking about it. So,
Yeah, I mean the second episode was good. I'm even more positive, and my tentativeness is wearing off, and I'm starting to like these characters. I've seen some people be super high on it, and it
okay,
also
okay,
it's 7 day numbers broke every CW's show ever, like
wow,
3.25 for its seven. So
oh,
it makes
okay,
sense that they
cool.
renewed it. I guess they're believing
Yeah,
them.
I'll tell you. I mean, we kind of talked off air. I watched the Flash, the debut episode of Flash, and I was like, ugh, maybe I
Yeah,
just don't care anymore. Maybe we need to wrap this show up. I lost interest on it. We're not going to do our recaps like we usually do with the CW and all that stuff. So
sure.
I don't know. And I think it's just a COVID thing where they're trying to wrap up the final season. So it's going to make this season very weird the way that they're trying to do it. So
Is this the last Flash?
no, I'm just saying they had to
Oh,
wrap
okay.
up the last season, and I wish it
The
was getting.
storylines. I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
got you.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they're wrapping up the last season storylines while also
Yes.
trying to build on a new season. But then they haven't announced, hey, it's going to be done next year or whatever. Like
Right.
I think we need to do that for Flash,
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
especially
And
if they get that movie going and do the Flash movie and all that. I think that's going to take away even some love from the Flash show.
Sure. Sure. Agree. I couldn't remember if you mentioned this last week or not, but Black Adam has announced they do have an April start date for startup production.
Okay,
Forgive me if you
cool.
did mention that last week. I can't remember.
I think so.
But on the way out here, we were talking last week about how things are moving for DC. Finally, we've been waiting like a year for things to actually solidly get moving. We are less than a year as of this date from the Batman being dropped.
Finally, Jesus Christ. Wasn't it supposed to be out like this year, like
Yeah,
Halloween or something, like originally? Oh,
yeah. So
I'm pumped. I can't wait for it. So,
we're within a year. Here we go,
yeah.
baby. And now here we go to Marvel Minute.
Marvel Minute, I had a couple things. The Mutants is apparently in development officially with Marvel. Obviously, dropping the X-Men moniker and just going with the Mutants. No
Nice.
real other information besides that at this point. I found it interesting how it dropped right around the WandaVision finale. I was like, ooh, are they gonna like give us that tease? But
Right.
then it didn't happen. So
Right.
that would have been cool. Sticking with that though, there's been a petition online for the casting of Wolverine. Did you see that?
Yeah, did you put in?
No, well they have somebody in mind that people are getting behind, and this is Jared Kesso. Do you know who he is?
Uh-uh.
He's from Letterkenny. If you're familiar with Letterkenny, or look him up, they said he's 5'10", he's Canadian, he's in good shape. Like he's already kind of ticking the boxes of what people want with Wolverine, So I guess there's a big push for him to be Wolverine. We'll see if that pans out in
Okay.
any way. Those crowd kind of things never really work out, but kind of fun to talk about. And then lastly for me, Melissa McCarthy has been seen on the set of Thor: Love and Thunder as Hela. So obviously they're going back to the play thing, like they did in Ragnarok.
Gotcha.
So Melissa
Okay.
McCarthy will be playing Hela,
I'm already
which
laughing at it.
kind of sucks because I wish I would have just seen that and saw it in the movie for the first time. But whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was it for me. Anything else?
Only other thing I had was I mentioned Frank Grillo earlier. Apparently, he came out and said they called him to do his little bit in Endgame when they try time travel, and then they run into him again in the elevator, and he said no, and he hung up on the guy from Marvel, and they call him back, and he's like, no, you people told me I was doing a 7-year project. You killed me off in the last film. I'm not coming to just chip in on this one. Bye, and hangs up on him again. And then his son, who is 22 years old or was at the time, came in and was like. And his dad, Grillo, told him about it. And he was like, Dad, I'm with you, but it's Avengers, man. And it's Endgame. Like, just to say that you're a part of it. Like, his son had the forethought to say, you've got to be a part of this. If they're putting you in this final film, blah, blah, blah. And his son talked him into it. He called him back, kissed their butt a little bit, and then they put him in just that one scene.
Well, and who's to say they couldn't use him in some of these other projects? If we're doing some time travel stuff, maybe Loki, or even Black Widow, maybe who pop up in there. That's a '90s thing. Well, like who knows where they could use him down the road? So that doesn't mean that he's not, going to be used at all. I don't know.
According to him, he signed a 7-movie deal, so now he's at 3 with that.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's intriguing. There's something's amiss in that story there as to why he would be so fired up. But either way, good for his son.
Didn't they sign Sam Jackson for like a 30 movie, some ridiculous thing?
Probably.
So like, who knows how many times, and how those work with the shows and all that stuff. So who knows?
Episode 230 is closing. It's time to go forward.
Going forward is very boring this week. For some reason, there's really nothing coming out. Cherry will be hitting Apple Plus. That might be a review for us next week, hopefully. I think you're saying you want to check it out.
Yeah, I want to.
I might if I get a chance. We'll see. So no promises there. We already said we're going to have Chaos Walking as a review next week as well.
Yep.
But other than that, we got the making of the WandaVision. That's going to be a 1-episode thing on Disney Plus this weekend. So we'll check that out and give our thoughts. The Grammys are this weekend if you care about that. And the Oscar nominations come out next week. So we will talk about the Oscar nominations when it comes that time.
Agree. You will get a bonus Patreon episode this Friday, folks. And Friday is the key there. You have heard a host of the T3 Pod Network is going to join me this time, and we're going to be breaking down everything that was TGIF. So if you are not a Patreon member, join right now, patreon.com, Take Two Podcasts. It's as low as $1 a month. Tell you what, pay the $1 just for March, binge a whole bunch of our shows, and that way you're like, there are only 2 of our shows right there are past 40 minutes. The majority of Tony and my stuff is around 30. You can binge a whole buttload of them and then be like, you know what? I'm going to stick around. And then stick around throughout the rest of the year. We promise you we won't do you wrong there. Patreon.com, Take Two Podcasts. Don't forget on Thursdays is when our poll drops. Jump on there, vote, share, tell your friends. We hope that you guys enjoy. And then the rest of the weekend, feel free to binge and listen and rate and review our show because they do help us out a whole bunch.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys pull with the Patreon when I'm not involved. It's always fun to kind of sit on the sidelines and just see what you guys can do. So,
and then pay attention to our feeds, our socials on Monday, because we will either be live tweeting or live reacting or something as those get dropped. They are nice and early in the morning, Monday morning, for the Oscar nominations. So we'll be doing something there. If you're intrigued for our live reactions, just pay attention that morning.
Yeah, that, and then of course we'll have the full breakdown on episode 231 next week as well. And as far as other reviews next week, we kind of talked off air. We're going to try and catch up on some new movies that have come out recently that we didn't review on the show. Maybe The Mauritanian, maybe Supernova, some of these other things we've kind of mentioned, but we didn't get a chance to catch up with. So next week might be a little bit of a catch-up review kind of episode.
Or episode 230. Have a great night, everybody.